Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GameZone Quick Hotfix. This is our Yakuza showcase. We're showcasing a bunch of games from the Yakuza series over the weekend. So today and tomorrow, we're here with our second game, Yakuza Kiwami. I'll hand it right over, and everybody can take it away.
Yeah, I'm Petke. I run this game, obviously, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, hello, I'm Big Nono. I also run this game, and yeah.
I'm Firelight. I also run this game, surprise, surprise, and also Yakuza 0.
It's true, it's me again. I also still run this game. Hello.
Okay, we are starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so right off the bat, this game, Yakuza Kiwami, is heavily based on Yakuza 0. So a lot of the tech, a lot of the mechanics of the game will be similar to what you've seen on the last run, specifically the way that cutscene skips and text skip work. Same also holds for tutorials. Much like in Yakuza 0, every time the game wants to teach us to move, for example, just a light attack, it wants us to use it a certain amount of times. And it counts it as multiple times when we hit multiple enemies with the same attack, which is going to play heavily into the tutorial here. And
that's bad. Game crashed because I skipped too early. Oops.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
I didn't even know.
That was a
I didn't even know that could happen.
Okay, cool.
Now I have to say the exact same words in the exact same order again. But yeah, as we were saying, yeah, the enemies.
2, 1, go.
Sorry. The enemies in this tutorial coming up aren't spread around as badly as they are in Yakuza 0. But a big problem with this tutorial, and this will actually figure into a lot of the tech, into a lot of the fights in this run, is that Yakuza Kiwami actually gives you a damage buff when you're in full health. It's an ability, but we get it for almost the entirety of the run. And it gives you a big damage buff when you're full health. It's like 50%. So if you take any sort of damage during this tutorial, that's immediately 10 seconds gone out the window. So this tutorial is a big reset point for the run.
Would you say this is one of the nastiest tutorials in terms of Yakuza speedruns? Because I certainly feel that way.
Yeah, 100%. I would say this is, I don't know if this is second to 0, but it's top tier. Or bottom tier, depending on how you want to look at it. Yeah, so Petke is going to decide to start by packing these two guys into the corner. Very nicely done. That's it. Oh, and the gut punch
Nice
too.
finishing there.
Yeah, that's a really nice start so far. You'll notice that he's saving Hirata for last. That's because Hirata is very counter happy and also very block happy. So you really, oh, that's a shame. Yeah, he took some damage, so already we're going to lose some time here. But yeah, Hirata, as you can see, blocks a lot. He's a really nasty piece of... so yeah, Petke just decided to juggle him around.
We'll explain why losing HP causes less damage in a little bit, but one thing we should note is this Kiryu at the start of the game is a much more advanced Kiryu than we're going to get for the majority of the speedrun, but we don't actually need that much in the run.
Yes. It's weird. It's almost like he's a fully leveled up Kiryu, but not quite. It's like a build of Kiryu that you can't actually get during the game normally. Coming up here, there's a second tutorial. This is your block and dodge tutorial, which the block tutorial completely depends on how aggressive Yama decides to be. That seemed decent. That was like average aggression.
Yeah, he can do a 3-hit combo, but the second hit doesn't count as one of the hits. Ask any Yakuza speedrunner what they feel about block tutorials.
Yep. Very nicely here, by the way, Patki managed to, for the heat move part of the tutorial, to get both back grabs. And the nice thing about the back grab heat move is not only does it have a faster animation, it also has a lower cooldown until you can use a heat move again. So yeah, that was very nice. That was honestly a very good Hiyama.
I don't even know why Kiru missed the stomp.
It just happens sometimes. It happens a lot with Kuze 1 and Yakuza 0 as well. The stomps are just a bit wonky. But yeah, this is a very interesting part of the game. Does anyone else want to take this up?
Yeah, so the PlayStation had a feature where you could basically play the game while downloading. So yeah, RGG has decided that they have to put in this bit where we have to get the ring back, because this was basically playable during your download. In the original Yakuza 1, this was not in the game. So yeah, we basically go to this jewelry shop, buy a ring, and then once we run up the road, we will bump into a charming guy, which will steal our ring, and we have to get it back.
Yeah, this is actually something we failed to mention, that this game, Yakuza Kiwami, is a remake of the first Yakuza, the PS2 Yakuza. And it does a lot of good things. It brings a lot of, the combat system from Yakuza 0 and actually improves it in some ways. There's a lot of really nice additions in this game, but it also has some pretty dubious ones. And this is one of them. Like Firelight said, this is basically just a way to take advantage of that PlayStation play as you download feature. But the way they decided to do it is, in the original Yakuza, Kiryu buys a ring for Yumi, the woman he's in love with. And this just tells us the background of the ring, in case you were wondering, how Kiryu exactly bought the ring, which is a very important detail for the Yakuza lore. So yeah, here is where Tsuboi pickpockets us, and this is actually, Froob was talking about this during Yakuza 0. Actually, Froob, do you want to talk a bit about the out of bounds here?
Yeah, so Tsuboi here is kind of interesting, because if you walk into him from the right, it will actually start you doing like the run, and if you just keep holding the right angle, you will push yourself against Tsuboi and push yourself out of bounds. And you can actually, if you follow where the buildings are, you can break past where the game doesn't allow you to go here. But much like Zero's out of bounds, unfortunately, there's not anything you can do. The fun fact is, if you look at the map at this point of the game, it shows Zero's map. But if you walk around Kamurocho, it's actually K1's.
And this is actually a really nice strat here with Tsuboi that actually Patki came up with. So
Early. Let's go.
Nice. Yeah, so that backstep right there, Kiryu has an ability in these early parts of the game that you don't actually get to see later on, where if you switch a style during a quick step, you actually don't get the slow animation, that, the slowdown that you get when you switch styles, you just immediately switch. So that's a very, very quick fight right there. Actually, a friend of the run, Dr. T-Chops, who made the load remover for this game, came up with using the light heavy from the bike, and Patki came up with the quick step part of it. So it was a nice little collaboration there.
Yeah, many thanks to Dr. T-Chops for the load removers and work on the entire series.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, at this point, Kiryu gets to the pawn shop, which turns out Tsuboi is so quick that during this part, he already managed to pawn off the ring and use the money to buy lottery tickets. So now we try to get it back from the pawn shop. And the pawn shop owner doesn't believe us that it belongs to us. So we need to get the money to buy it. And we just hit up our friend Shinji right there for 120,000 yen, which we're going to try and get here. By the way, you would think in New Game Plus you could skip this whole part and just buy the ring right away, but no, the game doesn't let you use any of your money here. So New Game Plus has to suffer through the entire ring sequence as well. Which, by the way, the New Game Plus run of this game is actually pretty cool, but we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, after seeing the rules of supply and demand, the owner of the pawn shop raises the price of the ring to 150,000 yen, so we need to hit Shinji back up. Fortunately, when we go back to the pawn shop, the owner finds the engraving with Yumi's name on it, and now he believes us that the ring belongs to us and says he will just give it back to us because he doesn't want to sell stolen goods. So we just, you'd think at this point we would just give Shinji his money back, but nope, we're just going to use that to go fast during the run. Sorry, Shinji.
Did we say why that bit exists in this game compared to OG1?
Yeah, the play as you download things.
Yeah.
All right. So this brings us back to modern time. That the whole getting the ring thing is basically a flashback, which is why any damage you get during that sequence doesn't translate over to this part. And yeah, at this point, Kiryu is going to the Kazama family office to get the money he got from Hirata. We didn't actually mention this, but Hirata is someone who's trying to get out of paying his debts. And the reason why we go there is to force him to do so. So now we're handing over the money to our family boss. During this time, we find out that the Dojima family boss, Sohei Dojima, has kidnapped Yumi. And Nishiki, our sworn brother that we've just seen in Zero as well, is went there to try and help her. And we are on our way to help them as well. Coming up here is a fight that you can actually avoid in the original game. You can just run past these guys in OG1. But in this game, you have to fight them. And this fight, depending on your luck, can be kind of annoying, or it can be really, really. So let's see how this goes. So the charge throw you just saw there, you get that from an ability called Max Crush. It does really, really nice damage. And yeah, Padkey got the perfect fight there. Very nice. So at this point here, we find out that Nishiki went ahead and actually shot Dojima. Actually killed the big family patriarch. And Nishiki has his sister in the hospital. Kiryu knows that she won't survive if Nishiki goes away, so he decides to take the rap for him, leading to this fight. So right here, we're going to smack these guys around a bit. Light heavies are enough to finish them off. And now we face up against the man himself, prisoner 1386, or as we call him, Forks Guy. And we're about to see the most important speed tech of this run, possibly. As you just saw, Padkey used Max Crush and immediately followed it up with a heat move. And there's an interesting feature of this game where anytime you use a charge attack, any sort of attack that makes Kiryu flash up like that, the next heat move does a huge amount of damage. And that's going to be super useful coming up. Especially in the fight coming up ahead.
Also, Kiwami means extreme.
That is very true. That is very true. So coming up here in Chapter 2, this chapter takes place 10 years after the first one. So Chapter 1 is in 1995. Chapter 2 takes place in and the rest of the game all take place in 2005. Which is the year the original Yakuza released. And coming up here is another edition unique to Kiwami. We're going to encounter a very good friend here. Also, as you can see, Padkey already learned Max Crush. it's a very important ability. We want it with us from the very beginning. And yeah, coming up here, yeah, that's Majima, looking quite different than he does in Zero. But yeah, this fight is new to this game. And this is a fight you're supposed to lose. This is kind of like the fight with Mr. Shakedown at the beginning of Zero. Except unlike the fight with Shakedown, we are actually going to try to win this one. And, I mean, Petke will win this one. So we're going to start by throwing this pizza... Oh, that's unfortunate. That really sucks when it happens. You want to throw... God damn it. He's playing Majima Saga.
Oh, wow. Deep cut.
So you want to throw that pizza sign at Majima because it immediately charges up your heat. So now Padkey can just do a max crush and immediately use the heat move, and you can see how much damage that does. Even on easy, that's unreasonable. He's using rush to get to the sign quickly. All right, nice. Majima wasn't too much of a hassle the second time. We're going to drag Majima to the wall. Petke's going to try to use the wall heat move with the pizza sign, which does a lot more damage than the regular one. Very nice. And at this point, Majima is going to go into his Kiwami, where he's going to regain some health. So Petke's just going to wail on him a bit. Another max crush, and now he's going to do the same wall heat move with the bike, and this should end the fight. Very, very nice.
Good fight, despite the spin.
Yeah.
The adjustment with the pizza sign was very, very nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was. Who found out that the pizza sign got you full heat when you hit the enemy with it? Was
I'm
it
pretty
Kuro or
sure
was it
that's
you?
Kuro.
Yeah. A long time ago now. May really make this fight like a lot nicer because you can just guarantee a heat attack.
Yeah, this fight would actually have a decent chance of killing you back in the day, back before, because not only you would build up heats more slowly, but you would also have to use more grabs. And eventually, even on easy, Majima doesn't let you grab him anymore. But yeah, by winning that fight, we get 100 experience points, which Padkey is now going to use to learn a whole bunch of abilities. There's a bunch of damage and health buffs here, which are very, very nice. We also get an ability called Grab Mastery, which gives us an infusion of heat when we grab an enemy at the beginning of a fight. And also the ability we mentioned earlier that gives us a damage buff when we're at full health. So those are going to be our main abilities that we use throughout most of the run. We'll have a couple more upgrades during the course of the run, but these are the major building blocks of this run.
Yeah, right now Padkey is severely overpowered, like to the point of like the first chapter that you saw, or potentially even more so. This is punk-ass Abe, who he used to be a problem, but with these new upgrade routes, you'll see he's not a problem.
He can sometimes. Abe and Tsuboi that we've seen earlier, and a few other enemies we'll encounter over the course of this run, belong to a class of enemies who 95% of the time they will simply let you grab them and max crush them, and they're super, super easy to deal with. And then 5% of the time they'll dodge around and they'll hit you and they'll just waste your time. So it's always a fun surprise to see which one you're gonna get on your run.
Also enjoying right now, chat talking about these Kiwami heat moves for the exclusive Kiwami states, considering what's about to happen within the next minute.
Yep.
But very importantly, we should say, Padkey's getting this coin locker key. Padkey will get another coin locker key as well. These are for items. One is for a medieval silver coin, the other is for a stamina and spark. Both of those are going to get sold in due time because we need quite a bit of money in this run. It's like 1.2 million or something like that in total.
Yeah, 1.2 million is the highest point you have, I think.
And yeah, the new route. I love how with any run of Yakuza, we always call it the new route, despite this route being, you know, like years old. But the very first route of this game, we didn't know about Max Crush. So none of the things that you're about to see, like, were around. So we had to interact with those Kiwami-based moves, including with this lady here who is a sub-story. We do actually do her sub-story in OG1, but the very, very, very old route of this was painful. But as you're about to see from this next fight, it is now really, really cool.
Yeah, the very I watched Froob's run of the very first pre-Max Crush route of this game, and God, it looks painful.
It's really bad when one of your fight strategies is get lucky.
And to be honest, there's still a lot of that going around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Yuya. Yuya is not long for this world. But the really nice thing is how these abilities all work together. You get into a fight, you grab an enemy, grab mastery gives you heat, you use max crush, you follow it up with a heat move that you have heat for from grab mastery. It really is a very nice combination of abilities you have in this route.
And as you can probably attest from that fight, Yuya is supposed to have the brawler Kiwami, but as you saw, we didn't see it. You can actually skip all of them, or like basically all of them. So yeah,
There's still in this route. There's still 2 fights where you see the Kiwami. On New Game Plus and Legend, you don't even see that. Like they're routed completely around any Kiwamis. Okay, so this is actually one of those suffering from success things where, oh no, that actually worked out well.
nice dagger placement.
So yeah, Padkey started that fight with the same heat swing heat move that we saw a bit in Yakuza 0, and then used the lantern weapon just because it has a very wide swing to get rid of other enemies. And he actually did more damage than you usually do to Takahashi. Because usually you don't see his Kiwami at all, unless he just happened to do a lot of damage. But yeah, that's the end of chapter 2, and now we're coming up in chapter 3, which is this game's first major set piece. This is very, very classic Yakuza game design. A lot of games in the series follow this blueprint, where chapter 1 is a basic introduction of the combat, then chapter 2 opens up the city a bit more, and then chapter 3 is your first big set piece. You'll see that sort of structure also on the next run in OG2 Yakuza. We used to think the optimal dialogue choices here would be bottom, then top. Turns out that top, then bottom saves a whole 0.2 seconds. It was very exciting when we discovered that. This part also has a bit more detail to it than it does in the first Yakuza. So in OG1, which is just how we refer to the first Yakuza, as opposed to K1, which is this game. In the original Yakuza, you overhear that this guy lost his essentially backstage pass for the funeral, and you go outside and you find it and you used to go to the back yourself. In this game, they expanded it on it a bit to where this guy confronts his boss, who then yells at him for losing his pass, and then he goes out and says that he never wants to work with the Yakuza again, making him pretty much the first sensible character in this entire series. The thing is, in the original game, you can pick up the pass and then go to the guy and say, hey, I got your pass. But he just is resigned to it. He just says, oh, I'm going to get fired anyway. You can just keep it, which I think is kind of funny.
He decides to become a vet, one of the most sensible NPCs in this entire series, and a good lad.
Oh, yeah. We very, very slowly walk past this guy to fight the man from Omi. So the Omi Alliance is the Tojo clan's big rival in the Yakuza world. And this guy is here for whatever reason that we'll find out later in story. Right here, Paddy's going to switch over to Beast, and much like with Yuya, grab Mastery, Max Crush into a heat. So now we're in the back area. I wonder if, yeah, Padkey knocked over. This is technically slower, but both me and Padkey will never give up a chance to knock Shinji down. It's just too funny the way he falls down like a stack of cards. In that shop, Padkey got a bunch of healing items, again, being full health gives us a big health buff, so we wanna make sure that if we ever take damage, we can heal immediately. And he also bought a dagger, which is going to play an interesting role coming up. This part here, this part here introduces the first-person mode for the game. And I guess this is a bit of a difference between me and Patki. I always do this part with keyboard and mouse, and he opts for still using the analog sticks, which both are just as good. It's just a matter of convenience.
What?
Oh wow! Amazing!
The one
Really, really good.
Okay, marathon
That is
luck, I guess.
That's pretty rare.
Really
Like
rare.
the one hit fight up there. Really good portrait room. All right, so here we're going to get a bit fancy with combos. The lanterns. If you use the light heavy combo, you do that run forward attack, which other than doing good damage, really gets you closer in with these enemies. Unfortunately, yeah, that guy managed to get some damage on Petke, so now we're going to have to change up our strats just a bit to deal with this. You don't always want to heal right away, but yeah, almost got hit by that thing. Petke's going to throw the lantern over. That's just to make it a bit closer to these guys when they get out of that building. And he's going to switch to Beast. By the way, you saw him do that kick and then do a style switch. There are ways to switch between styles without getting the slow animation that you just saw right there. And I see that... yeah, he is using the dagger strat. Okay, cool. So yeah, he's using this dagger to quickly defeat these guys. And it's also going to be used on this guy. It used to be that you would use a heat move with the dagger, but that's actually pretty slow. So what's going to happen here is he's actually going to stab him and then throw him down. And that's faster to use a heat move. I think to keep in mind in general with Yakuza runs, especially with the newer Yakuza games that have longer heat animations, using heat moves is actually pretty costly time-wise. So they really need to justify the time investment through their damage. So in this game, a lot of the time using regular attacks is actually better than using heat moves. And over time, we've routed a lot of heat moves out of this game. Also, you saw Patki do a bit of a twirl before entering this room. That's a bit of an AI manipulation that just groups these enemies up a bit more, causes them to run towards you so that you can group them up and combo them all together like that. Same thing with this movement here. We use the same wide combo from Yakuza 0, the 3 light, 1 heavy attack combo that just has that really nice wide swing. No, no. Ooh, oh, baby, a triple. Very nice. Okay. So this room can be potentially really annoying. Okay, good. Getting rid of that knife guy early on is very important. Oh, that was a scam. Patki got scammed a bit there. We always joke about getting scammed in this game because sometimes it seems like a combo should finish off an enemy, but then he just takes minor damage from it.
Do you want to talk about the Majima incident?
Oh yeah, it would take a bit of time to explain. Yeah, I had a really weird bug there once, where basically I tried doing max crush. For max crush to work, you need to hold the throw button. And what the game did was Kiryu started walking away from Majima, and Majima just flipped over in the air as if a ghost grabbed him. I still have no idea why that happened. Hasn't happened to me or anyone else since. Yeah, these games are something. What can I say? Very unfortunate to take damage here. Yeah, that was a bit of an unfortunate fight. But yeah, this is Shimano. Shimano is known to a lot of people through his really annoying regen in this game. Check out how Patty is going to deal with this man. Charge throw, pull out the dagger, and good night.
It's so cool. It really is.
It's really, really good. And the fun thing is that you can actually completely circumvent the regen, even on legend difficulty. Of course, it's a different strat, but it's all done through the power of Max Crush.
Now in this upcoming chapter, we will do a little bit of shopping. Petke will go to the coin lockers to pick up a few items. As Rube said earlier, medieval coin and a stamina spark. And we're then gonna go to a convenience store and buy some dog food and water for something later on in the chapter. After that, we will go to the pawn shop to sell the silver coin and the stamina spark for 120k. And we will buy an Elder's Belly Warmer and an Iron Plate with that.
Yeah, so this is... sorry.
I mean, I could explain what the belly warmer does, I guess.
Oh, no, I was just actually going to say... Oh, that's actually... We should talk about this. As you saw, Petke was talking to that NPC, and the fight spawn just completely disappeared. We didn't get to see this during Zero, but this works in both games. If you talk to an NPC when you're aggroed onto by a fight spawn, that fight spawn will de-aggro, and if you're close enough to them, it'll actually completely despawn. So that's one of the ways in which we avoid fight spawns in this game, which technically you can have fight spawns in Chapter 2, but they become a real nuisance from this chapter onward.
Yeah,
And
Majima actually walks around from Chapter 2 as well. You can, if you're very unlucky, you can get him at the stairs where you go down to get the lock key for the medieval silver coin.
yeah, we actually didn't mention the Majima everywhere system, so that fight we got with Majima in Chapter 2 is basically... It introduces the Majima everywhere system. Majima basically says, oh, Kiryu, you were in jail and now you're weaker than you were before. Even though we completely destroyed him, he still lords it over us. And from that point onwards, Majima is just going to roam around as Rube's head, and he's going to be a pretty big nuisance. Because much like Mr. Shakedown, he does not obey the rule about not being able to spawn too close to you when you load into an area. Majima can appear literally everywhere, as the name of the system suggests.
The nice thing is, because we don't interact with the Majima Everywhere system, the only times he can turn up is like walking around Kamurocho. If the unfortunate happens and we do have to get into a fight with Majima, Max Crush makes very quick work of Majima even at this early point of the game, and then he moves in front of the Millennium Tower where his hitbox is actually really generous. Ideally we don't want it coming down to that because that'll still lose us like 10 plus seconds, but he's at least dealable with.
Also, Firelight, do you want to talk about the Elder Belly Warmer? Because it's going to be relevant starting now.
Yeah, so the belly warmer is an item that gives you more damage the more enemies you fight. So if there's a big group of enemies, you get a massive damage buff, which you will see now. It's gonna come in real handy. He's gonna grab the bike in the back there and do a little swing with it.
Very nice.
And optimally, he can clear those with the bike as well. Ah, he got hit. That's unfortunate.
So, a very unintuitive thing that's caused by using the Elder Belly Warmer is generally you would think you want to deal with the weaker enemies first and then leave it so you can focus on the boss last. But because of the Elder Belly Warmer, we actually want to deal with the bosses and main bosses as soon as possible. Because the more of their grunts that are around, the more damage we do and the faster we can get rid of them. So it really forces a very... Between that and the fact that we need full health to do max damage, there's a lot of really nice high-risk, high-reward mechanics in this game. It's a very, very exciting run. I really love this run. It's fun. Favorite Yakuza speedrun. Probably my favorite speedrun in general.
Same. This run is really good.
Yeah.
If someone wants to start running this, I would hardly recommend it.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
I think this is a really nice entry point for Yakuza speedrunning. And if you're interested in running Yakuza 0 and you're intimidated by the length, a lot of the skill you will get from running this game is transferable.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we used to like recommend like K2 and maybe one other game, but like there's a lot of really good accessible points to get into Yakuza speedrunning, and as said, this is one of those. The most intimidating thing at first as a new runner is the Majima fight, but you can make a safety save just before him, which is nice. And when you obviously understand the max crush strats and what he did in this run earlier, the fight itself actually becomes really nice.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point and a really something that makes a lot of the newer Yakuza games accessible for speedrunning. Since you can save anywhere, it's really hard to lose a run in the sense of not being able to continue. I think other than Yakuza 7, you can always continue your run. You might not be able to PB, but you will be able to finish it, which also makes these runs really marathon safe, which is nice.
With exception of the gambling incidents.
Oh yeah, yeah. but even then, you can do a safety save before. But yeah, it's
Yeah, if you're a new runner, you would absolutely take a safety save before.
yeah. Yakuza 3 is that's the one game where we definitely have a gambling part that we can't get rid of no matter what. Okay, but we actually kind of talked through the entirety of the chapter. This is actually the very, very end of it. And there's a fight spawn coming up here. Sorry, there's a boss fight coming up here. This fight is really, really scary in the original game. And even in this game, this fight can lose you a lot of time because the optimal... this is one of those cases where the optimal strat does kind of rely on you getting lucky.
Yeah, it's hard to stress how much extra damage we do at full HP. We really want to stay at full HP.
Yeah. So right here, again, you want to start with the boss. So with Hayashi here, we're just going to grab him right away. And we're doing max crush, and that's unfortunate. See, if Padki didn't get hit there, Hayashi would be at almost 1 HP, and you could just... Oh, that was actually a really nice recovery.
Final smash, wow.
Very nice.
And that was lucky.
Yeah, they really grouped up nicely. Very good. Yeah, so it didn't end up losing all that much time, but yeah, if Padki didn't get hit, if the enemies didn't aggro as fast as they did, Hayashi would be almost at 1 HP, so he would have gotten taken down by 1 hit.
Also, important side note maybe, if you get hit at the end of the chapter, it usually isn't a big deal because you get healed after the chapter ends.
Yes. Which Yakuza games are kind of inconsistent about that. This game, you heal every chapter. In 0, you heal every chapter except the finale. And then, like, you'll see... In K2, you only heal in 1 chapter.
And yet in OG2, it heals you every chapter.
Yeah.
Which, actually, thank you, OG2, for that, not gonna lie.
Yeah. That game did not need any more challenge in the run. But yeah, this guy right here is a sub-story. And he doesn't want to... He doesn't allow anyone to cross the street without paying him a toll, and we are not too happy about that, so we're going to teach him a lesson. Okay, that was a dodge, that was unfortunate, but at least it didn't attack. If he attacks you, you need to heal, which is unfortunate, loses a bunch of time. Also makes the fight itself a bit slower. But yeah, having defeated this guy, we get the ogre, not the ogre, the leech gloves. which it's an item that I believe if you grab enemies with it, you get heat from them or something like that. Either way, we're not actually going to use it for its use value. We're just going to use it for its exchange value and sell it for 500,000 yen in the weapon store coming up, which is a big part of the money route in this game. So right here, we're about to be, this is where we sell the leech gloves. And we're about to be introduced to Purgatory, which is a very iconic location in the series. And also the Florist, who plays a big role in the earlier Yakuza games. We come here to get more information about the whole plot going in the background, which we've said very little about right now. The entire reason we got to that pub at the top of the Millennium Tower in the last game is that's where we're... that bar is owned by a woman called Mizuki, who is apparently the long-lost sister of Yumi, the woman that Kiryu was in love with all those years ago, who is also Haruka's mother. And we want to find more information about her, and the florist here agrees to give us more information in exchange for us just fighting 3 guys. So we're gonna fight 3 guys now. And this Coliseum is it's a pretty scary part of the run in the original game. In this game, grab mastery, max crush for all 3 guys.
Yeah, but the old upgrade route before, was it Kuro who did the ability rework?
So.
We actually had to do a little bit more against Gary, so we had to like wait for him to stand up, do a strong attack as he's standing up so that we can grab him again immediately, which is something you can do for Majima if Majima gets away from you in Chapter 2. But now, as Big Nono said, it's just nice and simple.
Yep. Same thing 3 times. Coliseum is a non-issue in this game. But yeah, having gotten past that part, we get a call, and we're told that Date, who is again a character we've not yet mentioned, he's a detective who's helping us get to the bottom of whatever's happening with Mizuki and the Tojo clan and the Yomi Alliance. He is being attacked by some of the denizens of West Park. So we are going to go over and help him. Also, worth mentioning that Yakuza games are kind of inconsistent about whether or not they let you use equipment in the Coliseum. This game does not, so you have to take off all of your equipment before going in. So Betty just menued there to put it all back up. Which I actually don't think I do. I think I only put the equipment back up after this fight. But yeah, so Heat Swing to start this fight up. These guys don't do a lot of damage, but they are very, very aggressive, and we really want to be full health for the next fight coming up. So if we don't get rid of these guys, we have to. Sorry, if we don't use the Heat Swing, we have to deal with a lot of aggro. And then we have to heal, and that loses time, etc., etc. So Date comes over to tell us, and remember this one because you're going to be hearing this a lot during this game. Haruka's been kidnapped, and we have to go save her. So we are going to the batting cages, and we're going to meet an old friend there. These cutscenes are a bit weird because you go in here, you get a cutscene, and then you have another cutscene, another small walking segment inside the batting cages, and then you get another cutscene. I always thought that was kind of weird. Original
Yeah,
OG1 does the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know why that exists. They could have taken it out.
It's almost, by the way, as you can see, through the magic of the Elder Barely Warmer, just one heat move with the dagger gets rid of Majima. Pedgi's gonna go over, he's going to get a bet, and he's going to start swinging. Heavy attacks are really nice for the grunt enemies. Very nice. For Majima himself, he dodges that attack very easily, so you want to do light attacks for that. But yeah, I'm guessing the reason why they did it in the original game is because the Majima batting cages fight is so terrible in the original Yakuza that they want to give you a chance to go back. But yeah, they just kept it for consistency in this game, I suppose.
Big kind of difference between OG1 and K1 here, because K1 has the Majima Everywhere system. Majima's going to be on the map still. In the original game, he goes to hospital.
He goes to the devil.
NTD spawned.
That's number 3 question mark so far?
Yeah, I think number 3.
We have a little bit of a back and forth here. We're going back to see the florist in Purgatory. Unfortunately, we have to deal with the florist's son. His name is Takeshi. He's in the backside. But on the way through for K1, we are going to have... In OG1, you want to specifically seek out Tamaki, but in K1, we get automatically taken in. It's going to look like we have the illusion of choice here. Most Yakuza games have like a choice between a yes or a no. It's not a choice. It's a yes. They will keep regurgitating the text box until you say yes.
Yeah, you have to do this. Even on New Game Plus, you have to do this. Now we are actually going to use this counter heat move for guns that we get taught here, but it would still be better to not have to do it. And yeah, that's Kameki training. We're not going to do any more of it, thankfully. But yeah, this entire chapter is kind of weird because I actually read the Patrick's guide for the original Yakuza, and even he points out that it's kind of weird how no real story happens during this chapter. This is stuff that in newer Yakuza games would usually be relegated to sub-stories because it doesn't really advance the main story too much. It mostly just gives a bit of character development to the florist and Date, who are, important but secondary characters in this game. So right now we're in the florist part of the game, and the florist's son Takashi is being chased by some Yakuza and wants us to that. This, by the way, we never got to talk about these guys. Aoki and Tamura are two information dealers that the game really wants you to think are important characters. It forces you to talk to them at a few junctions during the game, but they really play no role. They're usually just another guy you go to get your next objective marker.
One of them has a sub-story, right? That's like about it.
Do they? Is that...
Yeah, I think they
so.
meet in the sub-story again.
Yeah.
Well, if... Yeah, I don't quite remember.
Is that
like
the resolution
game, or
to
is
the
that an
story?
OG one as well?
I think it's an OG one as well.
I think it is one of the ones taken from OG1 to the skin. Which I guess we'll mention briefly. Some of the sub-stories from OG1 made their way to this game. A few select ones are also voiced, but not all of them made their way over, because most of OG1 sub-stories, not all of them obviously, most of them were just, hey, Kiryu falls for a scam. Kiryu punches people. Cool.
Yeah,
This might look really close, but most of the times he won't hit you unless you're really, really slow.
Also,
Yeah,
Flores saw all of that, by the way.
Hmm?
Flores saw all of that, by the way.
All right, so Petke's going to start this fight with a heat swing just to soften peeking up. Important thing when using the heat swing is you want whatever enemy you want to do most damage to, you want it to be not the one that you heat swing, because the enemy you grab takes damage less. And if you take out other enemies during the heat swing, then you get less of a buff from the Elder Belly Warmer. So you always want it to be ideally the first guy getting hit, but definitely not the guy getting grabbed. All right, so we're about to get to the last fight of the florist part of this chapter. And the strat here is actually a much nicer strat that Padke found. There used to be a really nasty strat for this fight that involved using the table in Brawler, which was really random. It might still be a bit faster if you get it optimally, but it rarely happens. So yeah, we're gonna use a pretty cool heat move right here. There you go. That's a done deal for the mini boss. And now we can just swing tables around in Beast. So that's a good time. Oh, that's unfortunate getting hit there. It's not the worst time losses, but it does make the end of this fight a bit more awkward.
It's like surprisingly hard in OG1. Like you can easily die in this fight in OG1 for some reason.
Yeah, the mini boss in OG1 just has a lot of dodge. Is really hard to get any purges on, and everyone has knives, so it's really bad. Used to be a much worse fight, by the way. The current strat for that fight isn't too terrible, but back in the day when you would use the dagger heat moves in that fight, it was super terrible. And yeah, now we're running over to tell the florist the good news that his son is absolutely okay, except for, the huge stab wound in his stomach. But other than that,
Don't you get teleported in this part in OG1?
oh yeah. In OG1, after that fight, you get immediately brought back to Purgatory, not in K1. It's really weird because there's a bunch of instances where you get teleported in OG1 where you don't get teleported in K1 and vice versa. Usually that's something that would be done to encourage you to explore more, but it's just kind of inconsistent. Also, this is a big pet peeve of mine where after you leave the florist's chamber, Kiri says, oh, I should go back to Serena. And then after you leave Purgatory itself, Reina calls you and tells you, hey, could you come back to Serena? So you just get told to go to the same place twice. And this happens twice in this game. This is also where in an older route, we would actually get a second stamina upgrade. But we don't really need that second stamina upgrade. And we're actually going to be using the completion points that you would normally use for that for something else near the end of the run. So yeah, this officially begins the Date portion of this chapter, and Date was supposed to meet his daughter in this park and spend some time with her, but he decided to drink and pass out instead. So great fodder. I believe in the original game in OG1, this chapter is called Fatherhood. Oh, Padkey saw a nasty fight spawn, so he is saving and loading. Saving and loading is a fairly slow but a very reliable way of getting rid of bad fight spawns. If you don't have anything else you can do, it's better than eating the fight. Oh, this is really... Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's really... Okay. Well, this at least is going to show us how we deal with this guy. Oh, this is... Oh, no. He's being such a bastard. I hope
so
this
now
does
you
the
will
trick.
get to see, at the very least, like what happens with Majima after this fight.
Yeah.
So this will cap out the Majima appearances at 4. We will never see Majima again walking around in this run.
Yeah, so every time you get to the next Majima Everywhere rank, you trigger an event where you have to go meet Majima in a specific location. Petke's going to talk to this guy, by the way. He's going to open up the illegal weapon shop that we're going to be using later in the run. But yeah, so having ranked up, we're going to... This is so annoying, yeah, because you lose more time for getting the email. We're going to get an email telling us to meet Majima in a certain location, and that location is in front of the Millennium Tower, and you don't want to go there. If you go there, then you lose even more time. Basically, there's only one time in the run where you have any like likelihood of going into that location, and we'll just have to remind Padkey not to go there. Yeah, there you go. That's the phone call that tells you that Majima is on the map. You're going to see, in addition to the pink objective marker, also a green objective marker. That's where Majima is. By the way, something that's very nice for New Game Plus, when you create a clear file for a New Game Plus playthrough, the state of the Majima Everywhere system is also saved. Meaning that if Majima is waiting for you in a certain location, you will not see him on your New Game Plus run if you don't go to that location, which is actually something that's used in the New Game Plus speedrun.
Yeah, because the issue with, obviously, the New Game Plus Majima is if you actually go down that tree, he can jump into, like, random fights. He can just jump you. There's, like, 5 spots in town that are, like, the popular spots that he can jump you, including the entrance or just near the entrance of Tenkaichi, which is an issue when we need to use that tactic so many times. So it's a really clever way by the New Game Plus runners to stop him turning up.
Oh, okay. So right away, that's very good. That's very good. That guy can be a real big problem, so it's really nice that Padkey managed to just immediately grab him and max crush him. Again, Elder Bellywarmer doing a lot of work to help us get rid of that guy right away. And we're just going to do a bit of cleanup here in Brawler. And this is actually something that's nice about this game compared to Yakuza 0, where you still have some use for Brawler in this game. Even though Beast is really, really strong, you do see at least Brawler a bit more. We still only use Rush for mobility, because Rush is still really, really bad in this game. Also, in terms of the plot, it turns out that Saya, Date's daughter, has gotten herself involved with some very nasty people who are trying to basically get her to do some very not cool things. So Date went over to have a talking to with them, and he has been outnumbered and is in a bit of trouble. By the way, Majima can show up right here, and it's really bad when it happens. Because there's really no way you can get past him other than save and load. But yeah, this is Shota. This is Saya's boyfriend, who's not very nice. We're going to immediately get rid of him. Very cool. That wall heat move is actually optimal when you have full health, because it does less damage than the other heat move, but if you're full health, it's still enough to get rid of him. And a bit of a cleanup in Brawler. That was a pretty good fight. because Shota's goons, they can block, they can run around a bit. They actually didn't act up too much compared to what they usually do.
Now for this upcoming story part, Kiryu will go to Tadori to get his tattoo finished up. I'm not sure if there's any other relevant story to that.
It's
But,
really... Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, is there a story to it, or is it just him finishing his tattoo?
It's just passing time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It like shows off the significance of why obviously members of the Yakuza get ink, and like obviously the importance of tattoos.
I mean, it does look good.
Yeah. Like, there's something here about... I think Kiryu doesn't know how to proceed, because even doing that favor for the florist, we didn't find out that much in terms of new information. And I don't even remember... Oh, yes. What happened is we get this photo of Mizuki, and we see that her tattoo is the work of Utabori, the same person who tattooed Kiryu. And Kiryu goes over there to see what's up, and Utabori says, that's an imitation, that's not really one of my tattoos. And while Utabori is touching up Kiryu's tattoo, Nishiki calls up and sets up a meeting with him. And you might think that's a bit far-fetched, but the game actually justifies it later. Like, that progression of events makes sense in light of later revelations in the game.
Also, act shocked. Haruka's missing. Second time this game. So we're going to run around Kamurocho to try and find her. We're going to go and speak to, obviously, one of the informants from earlier that we barely touched upon. We're going to follow, obviously, the line to try and find where Haruka's gone. And we're actually going to get... do we still get the golden blackjack, I assume, on the way?
Yes.
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 Nice. So there'll be a coin locker key that Padkey will be picking up for a weapon called the Golden Blackjack. As fancy as it is, we won't actually be using it in fights, but it does sell for a lot because it's made out of gold, probably.
Yeah, this is a really nice... this is a really nice aspect of Kuro's big reroute of this game, where we used to get a whole bunch of locker key items that we would sell for, and we would have to go specifically to Ebisu Pawn a second time in the run to sell them. But because it's a golden blackjack, it's a weapon, we can actually sell it in the legal weapon shop that we opened up. But we'll touch on that later in the run. That was kind of a nasty fight spawn. Good dodging there by Padkey. This NPC right here is my favorite NPC in the series, because you question him for information about Haruka. He says, give me some liquor. You threaten him. He says, give me some liquor. Then you threaten him again, and he says, okay, I'll tell you where she is. And
one of the smartest NPCs again.
Yep. Very few.
You don't want to be threatened by Kiryu.
For a long time, we thought, for whatever reason... so what he tells us is that he saw Haruka in a park. And there are 3 parks in Kamurocho. And for some reason, God, I don't know why, for a long time we thought you actually have to go to all 3 before going to this one, where the next story trigger happens. And what makes it even more unforgivable is that in OG1, in the original Yakuza, you go straight here, and that was a known thing. But for some reason, none of us for years thought to just go straight here and see if that's possible. I have no excuses for myself. This fight is super scary. So what Padkey's going to do is he's going to grab this guy specifically, going to hit swing him. Taking damage is unfortunate, but it's not the biggest problem. The important thing is that we managed to grab this gun. Even though it seems like there's a lot of gun guys in this fight, or, I mean, there are a lot of gun guys in this fight, for some reason you can't actually get a gun from most of them. It's pretty much just that single enemy that you can get the gun from. And sometimes if the positioning is off, you won't be able to get the gun, and it loses a lot of time. But yeah, no, that was a pretty good fight. Other than getting hit and having to do a slightly longer attack on the main guy, that was pretty good. It really, this is one of those games where it's underrated how much goes into a fight going well, because again, you can lose your damage buff from not having full health. You can lose certain weapons you need to use. Enemies can just not group up correctly. So it looks very easy, and Petke makes it look very easy when things are going well, but things can go bad in horrifyingly bad ways. And I hope we don't see one example of that coming up here. But Chapter 7 is really scary because it consists of essentially 3 fights, and all 3 of them can go horribly wrong. But I believe. A bit of a wide turn there just to avoid a dial-up on that corner. And Petke's going to do the second upgrade of the run. This one basically just gives you extra climax seed power. We actually haven't talked about climax seed. This is a good time to do that. Would anyone like to take that explanation up?
No.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and do it myself. So, as you can see in the heat bar below Petke's health bar has 2 colors to it. The first parts are blue, and then at the end are red parts. And the red parts are what's called climax heat. And when you're in climax heat, your heat moves do extra damage. And you also unlock other heat moves you can't do otherwise. For example, the heat swing that we saw a bunch of times already in the run, that's a climax heat exclusive. You can kind of think of it as an analog to the third heat bar from Yakuza 0, but again, it also increases the damage you do. And when you get climax heat power upgrades, that damage buff becomes even stronger. So it's really, really nice. I think when fully leveled up, it's double damage from heat moves, but don't hold me to that. I looked up those numbers a really long time ago. So yeah, climax seed is super important in the run.
Also something important or maybe interesting about this gambling section right here. In the original game, Haruka's basically gifted in gambling, and she wins every round. Thus leading to us betting lots of points there to get lords, I think, right?
Yeah.
But in this version of the game, for some reason, her RNG is bugged, I guess, because on the PlayStation this works perfectly fine. But on the PC version, for some reason, we can fail the gambling. So yeah, we just bet a few chips and basically, just let this go by. And this loss here was scripted, and because obviously Haruka can't lose at gambling, this must be a scam. So we're gonna fight those guys.
Yeah, the whole plot point just makes no sense on PC most of the time. Okay, got the heat swing right away. That's very good because these guys can be really horrible to deal with if
I
the heat swing
thought
doesn't
Aki
go.
was going to get hit from the left there.
Yeah. It's really scary, this fight in particular. It used to be a lot worse because we used to get these upgrades at the beginning of the next chapter. And because we didn't have that climax heat power upgrade, if you weren't full health, that heat swing wouldn't have taken out the mini bosses. So the moment you would get hit, your run was basically dead. At some point when I was actually routing Legend, I actually realized that you actually have enough experience to get those upgrades right before that fight. So you get a bit of extra safety, but it's still a very scary fight. And that was another example of something we talked a bit about during the Yakuza 0 run. But again, Kiwami being a Yakuza game after 0, you can only get aggroed onto by one fight spawn at a time. And that includes Majima. If Majima aggroes onto you, you can't be aggroed by fight spawns and vice versa. So sometimes you'll just bump into a very easy to avoid fight spawn like that, just to make sure that no other more annoying ones aggro onto you. But yeah, at this point, we have Haruka back. We're done taking her around town, and we're ready for a meeting with Nishiki. And this is one of the longer sequences of cutscene skips in the game. This is, I believe, 6 cutscenes.
Yep.
Not the longest one.
Yup.
But yeah, after all of this, we're gonna have a bit of a talking to with the Nishiki family. So this game actually has the original Yakuza has a really cool track called "Intelligence for Violence," which is just an amazing track. And they did a pretty good cover of it. Oh, that was really nice. They did a pretty cool cover of it for this game that has a really nice sax section to it, called, I believe, "Ideal for Violence." But for some reason, they only played it during that fight, whereas the original would play Intelligence for Violence in this fight as well, and also in a set piece that comes up later. So I don't know how they messed that up, but unfortunately. Here again, we see the power of Elder Bradley Warmer. Shindo just has no chance in the face of our dagger. Also, Petke is using up the rest of the dagger because we're going to get a much better dagger in the next fight. So we might as well just use it here. As you can, oh, this is horrible. These guys are super annoying. Bladed weapons in Yakuza are really bad. They can just knock you down like that. Good recovery, but yeah, that was very annoying.
Also, that guy that just got stabbed is Koji Shindo. Remember that name? You will hear about this guy later today.
Oh yeah. But yeah, this point of the story is kind of analogous to the part in Yakuza 0 where you're running away from the Dojima family. At this point, Nishiki is telling you to hand over Haruka or her pendant, I think, at least. I don't think he cares about Haruka herself. And he's just going to terrorize you and your friends until you do. So he's looking for a place away from Serena that he can run away to, and the natural place to look for shelter in is West Park, and Purgatory specifically. But turns out that West Park has been attacked, and tell me if you've heard this one before, Haruka's been kidnapped.
What?
What?
Again?
So yeah, turns out that the place was ransacked by the color gangs. There are a blue gang, a white gang, and a red gang. I'll let you piece together that very subtle symbolism on your own. In the original Yakuza, you can actually skip one of these fights. You can skip the fight against the blue gang right here, which is really nice because those guys are very annoying in OG1. But yeah, Kiwami forces you to fight all 3 groups. Luckily, this fight is pretty easy, as long as these guys don't move around too much. It's usually just a heat swing. Yeah, there you go. Sometimes these guys will move away and it'll be kind of awkward to grab them and you need to adjust, but yeah, most of the time this works fine.
Also, something we haven't mentioned yet. We purposefully avoid the sidewalk to the right side there, because there's a pocket circuit sub-story, and if we get into that sub-story, we lose, I think, a minute or something, or 2 minutes.
Maybe
I think
a
it's
minute and
2.
a half.
Yeah, it's run over.
Yeah, every new runner of this game will trigger that sub-story at least. But then you remember to never do it again. There you go. We're going up to the white gang next. Also something that we've not mentioned, but is actually important for the routing of upgrades in this game. As we've mentioned, grab mastery gives you an infusion of heat when you grab an enemy at the beginning of a fight. So you want, in order to be able to follow up with a heat swing, you actually want to not have too much regular heat. Because as you can see right now, the amount of heat that Padkey got from the grab, it just gets like the tip of the climax heat part of the heat gauge. And if we had any more regular heat bars, we wouldn't be able to get to that point. We would only have regular heat, and you need climax heat for the heat swing. So that's actually an important consideration in this run. But yeah, the white getting other than that is not too much of a hassle, which again compared to OG1 is pretty amazing, because that's one of the worst fights in the OG1 speedrun. It's really, really bad. So very cathartic if you run both games to get through that fight like that. So we open up this weapon shop in chapter 6, and now we are going to actually take advantage of it. So first of all, Padkey is going to sell the gold blackjack that we picked up, and also the Goemon, which is a weapon we got in chapter 6. And the Goemon is a very, very powerful dagger, and it's actually too powerful for easy. We don't need it for most fights. It's overkill. And that's something that Kuro realized, and he routed in selling the Goemon, and the Goemon sells for 500,000 yen. So that completely fixed up the money route. And that's the thing that saves us the extra trip to Abisu and picking up a bunch of other items. So that was a really, really good move that saved a whole bunch of things this run. Oh, that's nasty. That's nasty. Okay. Whew. That was a really nasty looking fight spawn.
I think the loading zone saved him there a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
Maybe we should explain that. There's certain areas on the map where there's so-called loading zones. So if there's a fight spawn aggroed onto you, and you walk through this loading zone, they actually de-aggro you for some reason.
Yeah, although I gotta say, I have gotten caught by a fight spawn there in the past. So I think it also depends on where you come from. Because if you come from the batting cages, and you cross there, then yeah, it does the aggro, but sometimes it doesn't if you go from if you come from that side of the city. But yeah, this is where we're going to start using the super spicy knife, which almost as good as the Goemon. There are a couple of bosses where you will have to do an extra attack in this route because it does less damage, but it's worth the extra time. This is also a very scary fight because you need to be able to do these guys without getting bothered too much by their goons. Also, if you miss them from 0, here's where we start using shotguns as well. So shotguns in this game work pretty much like 0, except they kind of have a narrower cone. They don't have as much spread, but they do have a slightly better range to them. Like they go through more enemies than the shotguns in 0. So especially if you run both games, you kind of need to get used to like the finer point of how to use shotguns in each game.
I also am in the fair belief that the shotguns in 0 and K1 are the best in the series. They're really good.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's really funny. You can see that RGG knows very well what the overpowered things are in each game, because there are no 2 consecutive games in the series where the same thing is overpowered in the same way. And for K2, they just made shotguns pitifully weak. Just the worst in the entire series.
They act like rifles, which is wild because that game has rifles.
But yeah, we after this whole trip, we basically tracked down Haruka's kidnappers to an organization called the Snake Flower Triad in Yokohama. Shoutouts to Yakuza 7, which you will see tomorrow. And we come here to have a bit of a talking to these gentlemen. The really nasty guy is the one who's right behind you. This guy can be very, very aggressive and really ruin your stuff. Also, you want to be careful about which enemies you take out and in what order, because this is kind of like there is a similar mechanic to this in Zero, where the game counts down how many enemies are on screen, and each time it's going to spawn a new wave of enemies when enough of the first wave has been defeated. This guy right here is a huge, huge pain. Yeah, Padky is going to grab a weapon and use a heat move on him. This seems like overkill, but if you let this guy go wild, he will just ruin your day. He's really, really annoying to deal with. Alright, finishing up the guys here, and I believe, yep, another shotgun.
Good.
Oh, we have a straggler. Oh, that's so annoying when that happens. That can happen in both this game and OG1. Sometimes you'll have one guy just stay behind, and obviously it loses a lot of time to have to figure out where the last guy is. Oh, interesting. I've not seen that positioning before. This entire kitchen section, there's some very, like, the positioning here is very specific to make it so you take all these guys in as few shots as possible. And also, this is another place where there can be some really annoying stragglers. Coming up here is Lau Kalong. Lau Kalong does not deserve the honor of the super spicy knife. We're simply going to use this vase on him. The wall heat move does a lot of extra damage. But Lau Kalong is another one of those bosses who you kind of have to remind them that they've been defeated, and he will not go down until he shows you all of his cool phases. So we get to this part, we break his guard again, and now... And this is actually... these shoulder bashes are very, very important in this game. We saw a bit of this in Yakuza 0. There used to be a lot of randomness actually in this run, where sometimes enemies just refuse to go into their next phase, even though you knew they were in the correct health threshold. And for some reason, moves that break guard immediately trigger the phase transition. So at the end of that fight, after doing all the damage, you just spam shoulder bashes. Also, you may notice that this shooting section is way, way nicer than the one in Zero. Yes, this one has keyboard and mouse controls, which is really, really nice. I actually quite like the shooting section in this game.
Yeah, I do as well. The mouse support alone just changes it completely. It's so nice. It's, as Big Nono said earlier in their run with Zero, same rules apply if you're on the harder difficulties. Don't get hit by a rocket.
And by the way, unlike Zero, I have lost Kiwami Legend runs getting hit by a rocket here.
Also important note, just like in Zero, we wanna hit the middle of the circles, get optimal damage.
I'm not sure if Padky, do you use low graphical settings as well?
Yep.
Okay, then you're about to see something pretty cool coming up. But yeah, a lot of people have trouble with this shooting section, especially on Legend. As you can see, you don't really need everyone, and there's a specific order you can shoot enemies that makes things a bit easier. Because if you get rid of the middle guy, you only have to deal with the guy in the back right here, and then just have this guy left for last. But yeah, on Legend, you really have to watch out for the guys on the bikes, because that would be a game over on Legend. And the floating driver, very nice. On low graphical settings, which again, even though these games have load removers, low graphical settings just to make the RTA time shorter. And because of that, the draw distance is pretty small. It is pretty short. So if the driver hangs back a bit, then he just floats in midair. that, which is pretty funny.
This is also the Yakuza 5 highway, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, this car section is evil in OG1. But the nice thing about OG1 is it gives you a save point after the Lao Long fight.
Yeah, OG1s, I mean, you can probably imagine, if I tell you PS2 shooting section, that probably conjures up all the images you need to understand how horrible it is.
I definitely don't envy either you or Froop.
Being able to manually turn your aim at first is like, man, that's cool. And then you realize, oh.
Yep. So this is the final upgrade that we get in any percent. This one's pretty standard, just a bunch of damage upgrades. And yeah, there's, by the way, there is a final damage upgrade that you can get, which is in the top branch, and we do have enough experience points for it at the very end. Weirdly enough, that damage upgrade barely increases your damage at all. I tested it multiple times, and it doesn't save any time in the finale. So there's not really any reason to get it. I think you don't even get it on Legend. It's just a weirdly weak damage buff. So this section right here, we are forced into... Actually, does anyone else want to take this up?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Froop.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so basically, Reina got shot in a gunfight, I think. So that's why you see those blood splatters on the ground. We have to avoid these, by the way, otherwise we get a text box. And now we're chasing after them to save them. Shinji is carrying her, by the way. And yeah, we have a set piece upcoming where we will try to save them.
Yeah. In OG1, you can actually, if you already know the location of the set piece, you can just go right there. But yeah, in this game, you have to follow the trail. You can actually get some fairly nasty fight spawns here, so you need to keep your eyes peeled even as you cross the corner. That guy on the left is a sub-story, so that's why Padkey is making pains to avoid him. And yeah, this is a really cool set piece. I really like this set piece. It just is very unfortunate that you don't get Ideal for Violence here, the song I mentioned before. I don't know how they messed it up. I don't know why they didn't use it here. But yeah, this is actually where we start using Rush a bit more. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Not gonna matter for too much of this set piece, but yeah, still unfortunate. So in this game, in general, you do more damage in Beast than you do in Rush, and in Brawler than you do in Rush. But for some reason, the difference is very, very small in this game compared to Yakuza 0. Also, another cool thing is that all of your damage buffs in this game are universal to all your fighting styles, whereas in 0, damage buffs are always para-style. You can sometimes one-shot this room. It's very subtle in terms of... Oh, very nice. Like, you need specific timing and specific positioning, so it's actually pretty hard to get. Very nice by Padkey there. Right here, Padkey is going to shoot these guys with his own shotgun, but then to save some time, he's going to pick up a gun from the floor and use that on the 3 guys in the room. Yeah, this part's always a bit awkward. I don't know why, but I always pull out my shotgun outside of that hole, and that makes it much less likely that one of those guys will survive the first volley. I have no explanation for it. It just seems to be the case. We used to shoot a lot more of the guys in this set piece, in the roof part specifically. Turns out you can just run past a lot of them. But you do want to dodge this guy because that was some wonky physics happened, unfortunately. You really optimally want to end that fight with 3 shots left in that gun, so Patky's in a good position. So this is where we actually use the heat move we were forced to learn from Kamaki before. Turns out that even though heat moves are in general pretty slow, that animation is pretty fast. And it's faster than trying to grab that guy and use max crush on him, which takes quite a bit of time. Okay, and this brings us to the RSA fight. RSA is a gun guy. He's very fast. He's very, very annoying if you let him get out of hand. So we're going to shoot these guys, and that's bad. That's really bad that he started dodging. Hopefully. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Think we're good? Oh, that's a shame. He's got a... Usually you hit him with the shotgun volleys, so... Yeah, that's unfortunate. Usually you hit him with some of the shotgun volleys, so it actually takes some of his health off. Again, not much, but as you've seen, the spicy knife heat move leaves him with very little health, so that would have been enough, but yeah, that's just unfortunate.
I also didn't intend to shoot the guy on the left. I wanted to shoot everyone else, basically.
But yeah, so at the end of that set, before the RSA fight actually, we saw that RSA killed Reina, and which makes some aspects of the later games very troubling. But yeah, at the end of the last chapter, Shinji also died, and Shinji was actually our contact with our boss Kazama during this whole thing, and now we just don't have any way of contacting him. So it turns out Shinji's girlfriend works at a place called Shangri-La, which is a place, don't worry about it. And to get there, we have to get a membership card. And a woman by the name of Shinmei that we just visited said that she will get that for us if we can... Ooh, that was a close one. Says that she can get us a membership card for Shangri-La if we get her fake passports, because she is a Chinese immigrant and she needs to stay in the country to work and support herself and her brother. Bit of nice commentary here on the plight of immigrants in Japan, but in the run, this is a lot of walking around from point A to point B. This is, I think, most runners of this game will agree, just straight up the most boring chapter of the run until, at least until the halfway point or so.
Absolutely.
Alright, so we come here to Club Jewel to find a forger who can make a fake passport for us. But then there's some trouble with people from the Snake Flower Triad. We've already met. No, watch out, Patky, for the Majima thing. I should have said that earlier. Yeah, sorry. But coming down here, we're going to see that the Snake Flower Triad chased these two women down to the park, and we are going to have to them a lesson.
Flashing light warning for this fight, by the way.
Yeah, there can be a very bright flash at the end of this. So if you have
Okay,
any
never mind.
sources, yeah, unfortunate. Didn't get Zhao. Which I'm actually not sure. Oh, because of the order of the grab. Yeah. Anyway, this is another part where OG1 will actually teleport you back to Jewel after this fight, but in K1 we have to walk back.
You also have to watch out for a dialogue to our left here. That's why he's taking a bit of a wider line. Shot.
Fine.
Really playing it fast and loose. But hey, if it works, it works. Alright, so at this point, having gone back to Jewel, we get the fake passport, and we can go back to Shinmei. Unfortunately, despite this game having way more taxi stops than OG1, it's still way faster to go between the two clubs on foot, which is kind of scary because there can be some real nasty fight spawns on the way. Right, looking good so far. All right, so Kiryu comes back here, gives Shinmei the fake passport, and she confesses that she was actually lying and she doesn't have a Shangri-La membership card to give him. Being a good guy, Kiryu lets her keep the fake passport anyway, and she tells him about an old client of hers who might have a pass and might be willing to give it to him. So we're actually going to visit that guy. He is pretty close to Club Jewel, so we have to do this whole traversal again. Bit of a bites one here. Right, good. Oof.
Another one.
They are out in force today. Jesus.
俺らと一緒に楽しいとこ行かねえもうやめてこれから用事があるのよ
And yeah, coming back here, this guy is willing to sell us his membership card. He asks for 500,000 yen, but you can actually talk him down to 300,000, which is good because as you can see from the money count in the quarter, that's pretty much all we have. Just that and a bit of extra money for some taxis we need. So yeah, real tight money route on this run. That's a good fight spawn. Keep us safe for a while. This part's really tense. It's really there can be such nasty fight spawns here, so it's always you always keep your eyes peeled when you go this way. Now for the pier fight. Rube, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, this fight's weird. The fight itself hopefully goes well. It can have, as you've seen with some of the other fights earlier, there can be a little bit of an issue when taking care of these enemies, and that like some on the sides might not get taken out with the first shot, which is a shame. One of the enemies here has like 3 HP bars. Majima's going to do his best to try and help. And then something weird's going to happen, because this fight doesn't exist in the original Yakuza 1. Nice, good hit. So the thing with this fight is, in the original Yakuza 1, after the events of the batting center, Majima is supposed to be out of the game because he's in the hospital because he got stabbed. But the thing is, he's in this game because of Majima everywhere. So because of that, this happens. Which leads to a very weird bit, even with like early Yakuza 1, where Kiryu is now going to turn around and say, oh well, and walk away. Which is exceedingly out of character for Kiryu, even in early Yakuza 1. He would still go and check if Majima is alright, but nope, they needed a way to remove Majima so that we can bring Majima back again. Don't worry about it. You'll see him in like a minute.
It's really, really strange. There's a few signs in this game that the team that worked on the pre-rendered cutscenes and the team that worked on the rest of the game, or teams, weren't fully in contact or weren't fully synced. There's that one cutscene in Chapter 5 that has very different character models in the cutscene to the ones you see in the in-engine part before it. And yeah, it's a bunch of stuff like that that just shows that there was a bit of miscommunication here, and it leads to some pretty weird stuff. Ooh.
So this bit is slightly nice for fight spawns, because when you have an NPC ally with you like Haruka, you can talk to her and literally phase them out of existence. Thanks, Haruka.
Yes, although there is one exception to that, and it's a pretty annoying exception, but we'll get to that a bit later. But okay, now for Shangri-La. I think one of the more confusing parts of learning this game as a new runner is navigating through this place optimally, because it gets really, really confusing at first.
It feels like they intentionally like take you up there here to tell you, hey, remember this layout. But when you're going backwards and you've got, you know, a bunch of enemies and a bunch of guys with guns, it's like you can't really bring that back up that quickly, you know?
Yep.
I struggled a lot with that. I made some notes to remember where I have to go.
When I was first learning it, I tried to remember, follow the red carpet. Except the red carpet doesn't go all the way to where you want to go, and it branches off at some point.
But yeah, this is actually why we want exactly 3 shots left in our handgun. 1 shot for that guy over there. And another 2 for this guy here. That he's also going to switch to the dagger already. By the way, switching off weapons immediately unequips the weapon you're holding, so it's faster than just pressing that button to switch back to the unarmed fighting style. So man, Majima, this actually has something new, I think, that Petke's going to do. Yeah. Didn't come through.
Assuming the stab heat action on the wall.
Yeah.
Sure why that didn't work there.
Yeah, that was very strange. Again, shoulder bash to trigger this QT. This is actually one of the most useful instances of this tech, because without it, Majima can just make his QT happen upstairs. But yeah, here we are. That's the end of Majima for this. Well, it might not be the end of Majima. Kind of depends on what happens in the finale, but we'll see.
Is he still in front of the Millennium Tower or not?
No, not in front of Millennium Tower, but before you get to Stardust.
Oh.
But does he still spawn? Probably not, because of the encounter with Majima.
Yeah, he should be like fixed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Completely.
Although, yeah, the Majima you're talking about has absolutely cost records before. I've been on the end of it.
Yep, me too. So this is the longest sequence of cutscene skips in the game. There's 8 cutscenes right here in a row. Another one at the beginning of the chapter. There's another one after this sequence, and then there's 3 more at the end. This is a very short chapter. It's really more cutscene skips than anything else. But it's actually pretty cool. I actually really like this chapter. Alright, so right away, Petke is going to shoot these guys from the neutral position. Another shot back just to thin the herd a bit. Avoid this guy. Now, this guy right here has a better shotgun than we do, so we can use this to finish off some of the stronger enemies that are still left. And oh, that's unfortunate. Petke was trying to, trying to grab that guy, but grab a shotgun instead. The game has weird priorities for what it does when you press the grab button. It's just almost never what you want. When you want to grab an enemy, it grabs a weapon, and vice versa. But yeah, here's for what you want. When you want to grab an enemy, it grabs a weapon, and vice versa. But yeah, here's a familiar face. Shimano is here once again. Not going to face a much more respectable end than in Chapter 3.
Yeah, not a good chapter.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We also have a straggler left. It's if you move in rush to that corner of the arena, that usually gets you pretty good spread on the shotgun, but it's not 100% consistent. Sometimes these guys will just act up and cost you a lot of time.
Now, at the start of this chapter, you will see Petke speaking to Bob, because he will get the Beast Amulet, which he will instantly equip for some damage boost. Well, I sure hope you remember now.
Yeah, this is something I routed into any percent. This also is something that started in Legend, because in Legend you get a lot of completion points, so getting the Beast Amulet is very easy. But turns out it's actually worth getting just for even though it's just for the finale here, because it's going to enable some pretty cool strats. On the way to Stardust, again, we can't have that happen because we ran into Majima already in this run, but you can have Majima spawn right in front of Stardust, and it's very, very annoying. And this is actually an exception to the rule where you can't talk to Haruka walking up to Stardust, so you can't use her to de-aggro or despawn him, which is very annoying. Alright, so we're beginning the finale. The Tenkaichi fights, the first and last ones go pretty much the same. We're going to shoot all the goons here in rush. And then, hopefully, this time we don't grab the weapon. Yeah, just a charge throw, just a max crush on the mini-boss. This fight and the next one, also pretty similar, although the mini-boss on the right, Majima, is actually very aggressive, and he can be pretty... Oh, he's being... Okay. He could do a lot worse. He could also start attacking you, but just dodge him. It's unfair. Not too terrible. And okay, this last fight is pretty similar to the first one, except there's a guy with a gun here that we want to get rid of as soon as possible. I'm actually curious to see if Petke does this fight the same way I do. Yeah, it looks like it's the same. And yeah, just clean up here with the shotgun. That's very unfortunate spread for the enemies. Usually they group up a bit more, so you don't have to use as many shots for them, but yeah, that was just unfortunate.
Also something worth mentioning. If you think that the shotgun bullets in Zero looked tight, it's even tighter in K1. I still struggle to this day with shotgun usage. I think I only had a few runs where I had enough shotgun bullets for the finale.
Yeah, the ammo route is actually not too bad in Zero. It's very rare that you run out of bullets unless you make a big mistake. In K1, it's very, very tight. But yeah, you want to move a bit to the left when you start shooting there, otherwise one of those enemies gets... Like the bullets get blocked by the pillar and you don't get one of the enemies. After that, we grab that handgun just because it helps us conserve ammo, and the way these enemies are spread around, you're not going to get all of them with a single shotgun round, so you might as well. We're also going to hold on to this handgun because this guy right here, it can be very dodgy, it can be very annoying, so you wanna stagger him with a handgun bullet. Also, what you saw there, that's the effect of the Beast Amulet. Without the Beast Amulet, you'd have to use a heat move on that guy to finish him off. And remember, heat moves are slow, so it's a good thing when you can avoid using them. This guy right here can be pretty annoying. Let's see what happens. Petty's gonna shoot all the guys. It staggered him and finished off all his goons. Okay, very nice. And then just max rush to finish.
I barely have any bullets left. I have to use the backup pistol.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Although you do have one round left for these guys, right?
Yes.
So hopefully these guys behave and all group up. Okay, very, very nice. That shot is nice because it also staggers Murase, so it opens him up for that charge throw. Very good. All right, and now we're really at the very, very end of the run. So we are about to face Jingu here. You can, by the way, shoot Jingu from from across the pool and get him to 1 HP, but it doesn't matter. He gets all his health back when you fight him later. Right now, Padkey, I believe he's going to have to start using the guns that the enemies drop pretty soon. Which isn't too bad. Ah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, the guys with the orange aura, they take 2 shots.
Hold on.
Oh, this is really unfortunate. Oh, okay.
It
No,
kind of worked.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That was a bit weird. Okay, coming up here, the Jingu fight. Anyone who's played this game casually will know that this is a pretty rough fight. In the speedrun, this fight is terrible. This fight is really, really scary. A bit less scary with the Beast Amulet, but still. So right away, we're going to... Oh, that's so bad. Oh, no. Oh, wow. What the hell?
What? This is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, time out, dudes. This isn't legend. Like, relax.
Okay, interesting.
Even Jingu.
God damn it. God damn this man. It's funny because well, anyway.
I mean, nice backup.
Yeah.
Nice backup.
Yeah, very good backup.
Yeah. Alright, now we're gonna
the
hit
round.
Jingu just enough to get him into his last... Wow. Wow, you there are simply the worst.
He's taking his time today as well. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So right here, getting Jingu into his last health bar will actually cause him to start the next phase in his Kiwami. And thanks to the Beast Okay, this might be... Okay.
It's fine.
So all we have left to deal with is this guy. That was man. That was an amazing Jingu fight.
Suddenly Legend
Wow.
aggro kicked in.
Yeah, there's when you go into the pause menu during that fight, Q's objective says, "I cannot forgive this man," and I think any runner of K1 can sympathize with that. But yeah, this is the final boss fight against Nishiki, and kind of typically for Yakuza games, the real boss fight is the penultimate boss fight. This fight is actually pretty easy. So what's going to happen is we are going to start by obviously doing Max Crush into a dagger heat move, and this already gets Nishiki to 1 HP. So all we have to do is deal with his different phases. Let's etc. So this is something Padky found, that picking Nishiki up is actually faster than stomping him. Using the shoulder bash, we immediately go to the next phase. Do that same thing again in this phase. Now this next part can be kind of awkward because you never know where the camera is going to be when you get out of this cutscene, and if you misstep and go the wrong way, you might not shoulder bash Nishiki in time, and he does his Kiwami and starts recovering health, and it's a whole thing. All right, but we're good. Shoulder bash, and this is going to be final QTE. Time is going to be not on the QTE itself; is going to be a bit after it, but we are a few seconds away from it. So here's the final QTE. Just a quick mash. And time will be when Nishiki gets punched and his health bar disintegrates. It's going to be
3, 2, 1. Ooh, time.
GG.
very
GG.
good. Very nice. Good run.
Thanks. It was a 144.19, by the way, for anyone wondering.
19. That's
Interesting.
especially with Majima, that's really not bad.
Yeah.
And the finale.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's K1.
Awesome.
Thanks for commentating this run, basically, because I almost didn't do anything except doing the run.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having me for running this game, GDQ. Yeah, thanks in general for this marathon.
ごめんね
And shoutouts to Aldred.
あな
Just
たのこと
no
ずっと
context,
忘れ
just
てなかった
shoutouts to
の
Aldred.
Yeah, always shout out to Aldred. I also want to mention a runner. We've mentioned Kuro's contributions to the run and other runners. One runner that we haven't mentioned that we really should is Lilogram, who's actually the runner who originally came up with, originally realized the potential of Max
あなたの
Crush,
笑顔や
and as a result of that, actually routed defeating Majima into this run. So massive shout outs to her. Really, really opened this run up and made this such a fun and interesting run.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being on, for running, for commentating. Appreciate all of you. We do have more Yakuza coming up, so we're gonna be watching Yakuza 2 in just a few minutes after their break. Just as a reminder to everybody, if you missed out on any of our other Hotfix shows, you can check all of them out over at youtube.com/gamesdonquick.
私の一
And the VODs for this are also going to be up there in about 4 days. With all that said, we're going to take a break and we're going to be back with Yakuza 2.
怖い思いさせて
Bye, everyone.